What's going on, Paisanos? V here, coming at you guys, well, with my Shaddoll Invoked deck profile. I've been playing this deck a lot, and I've been changing this deck constantly because I want to find the best ratio. What's the best amount of cards you can play in a deck, and why? We're seeing the meta slowly change. We're seeing the best decks, and we're seeing the decks to beat the best decks, and then we're seeing these decks over here, which lose to tier 1, they get bodied, but they're meant to be the decks that beat the best decks, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And with Shaddoll Invoked, I feel like it's in a weird in-between. It doesn't have any amazing matchups, it doesn't have any worse matchups. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go over my main deck, side deck, extra deck, and after that I'm going to give you guys my reasons on my choices. Now, if you guys want to see me play this deck live, check me out in the description down below. Twitch TV, YGOPaisano. I stream more or less Monday through Fridays, and I play in tournaments non-stop and constantly, and I really like Shaddoll Invoked. I think it's the best deck of the meta. I think it's a deck that if you play well, you are always rewarded. And it's very few times you brick, but for the most part, if you lose, the deck's going to tell you why, and you can learn from it and become better as a player, which definitely gives it, makes this deck so that it's more enjoyable. Okay, so once again, like I said, I'm going to go main, side, extra, and then I'm going to bring everything back in reverse order. Let's go. So for the main deck, we got 2 Shaddoll Wendy's. We have 2 Shaddoll Hedgehogs, 2 Shaddoll Squamata, 1 Shaddoll Dragon, 1 Shaddoll Beast, and 1 Neo Shaddoll Ariel. Up next, we have 3 Alistair the Invoker, 3 Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, 3 Ash Blossom Joy of Spring, 3 Artifact Lancia. We also are playing 1 each of Dynamaster Prankatops, as well as Ellic the Golden Lord. So, 1 of each of those. And that's our monster lineup. For our spells, we have 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 3 Magical Meltdown, 3 Super Polymerization, 2 El Shaddoll Fusion, 2 Spellbook of Knowledge, 2 Invocation, and 1 Call by the Grave. And for the last 2 cards, it's going to be all traps, and it's going to be just Shaddoll Schism and Restaurant Incarnation. One thing I want to also note real quickly is the fact that I change this deck a lot, and I try every variation of this deck, of Shaddoll Invoked, and I can do a video literally like every other day, but when I do a video on this deck, I normally am doing it because I'm relatively comfortable with the deck, and I think it's a deck that a lot of people can universally play. Can you always make changes to Shaddoll Invoked? Sure you can, but the trick is to always find the best variation of the deck, and I think I come always close to it whenever I talk about it because the meta slowly shifts, and this deck always catches up with it and changes its playstyle as well, so that's why it makes this deck very unique. Up next for our extra deck, we have 2 Shaddoll Construct, 2 Winda, double App Clone, and 1 El Shaddoll Shakanaga. And then we have, for the Invoke package, 1 Mechaba, 1 Purgatrio, 1 Ragin, 1 Ogodides, and 1 Starting Venom Fusion Dragon. Message me if you can find an Italian Ogodides, by the way, I need one. Then we also have a Predator Plant Inverted Anaconda, a Gravity Controller, and an Artemis. So that's a 15th card extra deck. And now onto the side deck. What we have here is 3 Nib, 1 Harpy's Featherluster, double Lightning Storm, double triple Tactus Talents. I'm sorry, triple Tactus Talents. 3 they're gonna be 1 and 3 evenly matched. All right, so let's start from the side deck, go into the extra deck, and go into the main deck, so we can make our choices why we did play certain cards. We have 3 evenly matched, and as of today, I went back to 1 Harpy's Featherluster and 3 Lightning Storms. Before I was playing this card, I was playing Twin Twisters, and the reason why you play Twin Twisters is more or less because of Prank Kids. Now, the thing about Prank Kids is I feel like they've gotten easier to play against. As the meta has changed, Prank Kids have to deal with that, and they really can't change towards the meta. So, for the most part, we're seeing a lot of Prank Kid players just drop off naturally. So, I feel like since they're dropping off, we can go back to playing Lightning Storm and Harpy Featherluster due to the fact that these cards are just always better in most cases. The only time we wanted to play Twin Twisters was because of Prank Kids during the semi-phase, in which you pop their Pandemonium, and more likely that they're going to be 1, and they really couldn't do anything. So, that's why I felt like that was good back then. But now that we're in the current meta as we're in it right now, this is infinitely the better choice. It's just much better of a choice. Obviously, evenly matched being a deck is good against almost every deck in the game going second. And to be honest with you, when I play Shaddoll Invoked, I feel like I always kind of want to go second. I don't mind losing dice rolls. Don't get me wrong, if I win dice rolls, I'm going to go into a Winda. But if I lose dice rolls, I'm very okay with that. Also, looking at evenly matched as a card, I think this card's absolutely insane against a lot of Ellic variants, or maybe even a lot of Tri-Brigade variants. They're just not ready for it. They don't have no answer for it. And evenly matched allows you to break their board with 1 card, which is very important. In the case of like Eldritch as well, if they open a bunch of Eldritch traps and you evenly them, they lose all that. They can activate whatever. They can activate Conquistador and pop a card, maybe to save a card, I guess. But it doesn't matter in the long scheme of things because we have Ariel and we're gonna go snipe whatever goes to the graveyard. So that's why we play these 6. These are more or less your your slower decks kind of removal. So that's why it's there. Up next, we play They're Gonna Be One. I mean, this card, I don't think I have to even explain it, but I will. It's meant for tribal decks. Decks that play almost all of one thing. Good against Dragonlings. If you go first against Dragonlings, you flip this card over on them, they really realistically are not ready for it. Most Dragon League players play things like Dark Row No More, Forbidden Droplet, because they want to stop your window. Most Dragon Leagues don't play back row removal when playing against Shaddoll Invoked. They just don't. And when you play They're Gonna Be One against them, you kind of say, hey, listen, you finally got rid of my window, but you can't get rid of this, can you? And that's when you just lock the game up. So this is why this card's absolutely amazing. Also good against dinosaurs as well. Dinos definitely are an easy matchup for this deck, and this card just makes the deck a lot more easier to play against. We're still playing Triple Texas Talents, Starlight Rare. We're still playing Triple Texas Talents. This card's amazing. Anytime I see a deck playing Dragoon, and if you see a deck playing Dragoon, it's more than likely not a tier 1 deck. If you notice, it's always a tier 2 deck that play Dragoon because they need the crutch. And when you play Talents, you basically just slap the crutch off them, and they hit their face on the floor. Pavement floor, because when you play Talents against more or less these decks, what you're basically doing is taking their Dragoons and ending them with their own card. So that's why this card's still in here. Obviously, this card's still a good card in general. Against decks like maybe like a Zodiac, Elic, I feel like they play a ton of hand traps, so this would be better in that matchup as well. But more or less, if you know your opponent can play Dragoons, you're going to play Triple Texas Talents. And we still keep Nibiru in here because this is a good card in general. Nibiru is a card a lot of players will slowly stop not respecting, and you remind them why they should. I think you have to keep it in every deck in the meta, unfortunately. Whether it's side or main, it really doesn't matter, depending on the deck you're playing. And for me, I think in the side it's infinitely better because not a lot of decks we play are not going into this. But when the decks that can run against this card's huge. Also, it's a light target, so El Shaddoll makes, well, construct. All right. So I think the extra deck is pretty much the same. We have Artemis, Gravity Controller, Anaconda. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is all, nothing's real changed. I think Shaddoll is the only thing we talked about last time. And for anyone that doesn't understand why Shaddoll is in this deck, it's very simple. Obviously, with Super target against Zoo, you can do that. That's kind of cool. But realistically, the reason we have Shaddoll in here because any version of Shaddoll Invoked at all, for the most part, loses to Megaclops. Is anyone playing Megaclops? No. But you don't want to lose to one. You don't want to have one card that you auto-lose to. You just don't want to have that. And when you play a Shaddoll, that kind of is your answer to Megaclops. One Shaddoll Fusion gets rid of Megaclops play. Let me know if you guys, maybe I should do a video about that sometime. Let me know. But yeah, Shaddoll Fusion, really good against Megaclops. And the rest of it, everything's pretty much the same. Don't get me wrong, I would love to add a third construct. I would love to add a second Mecha, but I would love to add those cards. But the extra deck is so tight, you just don't have the room to, unfortunately. If you look at the main deck, and you're probably a little bit confused because I'm playing 41 cards in the main deck. Ideally, I play 40 cards when I play Shaddoll Invoked. You want to play the least amount of cards in this deck. Hell, if you can run Upstart, you do it. Because what you want to do is you want to have the chance to draw the most amount of cards that you can actually do something with. Upstart is not one of those cards, especially if you're going second. And just ideally, if you do go second, you don't want to have Upstart in your hand. It's pretty much a -1 in that situation. With that said, I think 41 right now for this deck is the perfect number, and I'll show you why in a second. So with Shaddoll and Shaddoll Schism, these are like must-haves. Corporate Grave is a must-have. Like, these are just the must-have kind of cards. Obviously, you run 2 invocations. Double Spell Ganache because this card becomes Pot of Greed. Summon Alistair, Alistair effect, add invocation. Alistair goes into Artemis. Artemis is a spellcaster. Activates Public Knowledge. This literally becomes Pot of Greed in that matchup. And I've done that play so many times, so the fact that this card, to me, is just a pot of, like, that's how I treat this card. Because that's the way I feel like when I play this card. When you have an Alistair and Spell Ganache in your hand, you have Pot of Greed and Alistair. Or, technically speaking, Pot of Greed and like a Mechaba. That's insane. We only play 2, and the reason why you only play 2 is because you don't want to open up both of these. It will be technically considered a -1. You can't pot Spell Ganache for another Spell Ganache. If you could, I would play 3. But being the fact that you can't do that, you only play 2. We're also running 2 Eldar Fusions. I don't like this card. I think this card's terrible. I think Shaddoll Fusion's better. But we still run this card because this card can help us OTK. So that's why you run it in there. Don't get me wrong. There are times where I open it and I can use it. Sure. But I'd rather have Shaddoll Fusion because if it goes to the graveyard and I add it back to my hand, if they have an extra monster, Shaddoll Fusion just by itself lets me do things. In that same scenario, Eldar does not. Of course, we're playing through Super Poly. I know a lot of decks are not playing Super Poly in general, but any Shaddoll variant can play Super Poly. Shaddoll Dogmatica runs a fine lineup playing Super Poly, but Shaddoll Invoked, we play Super Poly. We break boards with this deck. And of course, you play 3 Magical Meltdown. Someone said to me before, they go, what if you was to hit, Meltdown got hit to 1 or banned? It doesn't matter. We're getting Despia. Like, Despia has a field spell. Despia is broken. If you think this is broken, wait until we get Despia. Like, if you hit Invoked, we play Shaddoll Despia. If you hit Shaddolls, we play Invoked Despia. If you hit Shaddoll Invoked, no big deal. Whatever's left, we're going to add it to Despia. Like, Death Spirit is broken. And Shaddoll Invoked is, like, the biggest deck that would benefit. Obviously, there's other decks I can, but Shaddoll Invoked with Death Spirit is going to be huge. When it comes out, I'll have videos showcasing that deck to you guys. Don't you worry about a thing. We're going all in on that deck. And then we have 3 Shaddoll Fusions. Kind of a staple. Alright, so some of the changes is Prangatops and Golden Lord. Prangatops is a great going second card, especially if you're playing against a mirror match. Especially on Prangatops, you're already threatening a window or Mechaba, depending on circumstance. Prangatops by itself gets rid of one problematic card. Also really good when your opponent has Imperial Order and a board state setup. You go Prangatops, you break that. So that's why Prangatops is in there. Also when you Schism, you can go into El Shaddoll Shakanaga. Also really good. Then we have Elec the Golden Lord. This card helps you end games quickly, and that's why it's in here. Also, one of the many answers besides, my nose is itchy. One of the many answers for Imperial Order is this card. You open this card in your hand, you're good to go. And that's a big deal. Another thing that a lot of players don't really utilize, which is they can, is let's say you have a set spell that you don't need. You can pop it, add this card in your hand, and you don't necessarily have to special summon it. So if you pop it, add it to your hand, I got dog hair in my nose. You pop it, add it to your hand. You can use the other effect to send it and a spell card or trap card in your hand to get rid of an Imperial Order. Is it overextending? Sure. But when you do it to get rid of a problematic card that will more likely lock you out in any other circumstance, yeah, you definitely would. Especially if you have other card in your hands like Shaddoll Fusion. Does it always come up? No, but it's definitely something to play around with. Once again, this card's really good because you go Magical Meltdown, you do your Alistair plays, you get rid of Magical Meltdown that have Invoked. So I have a Elec. So now, not only did they have to play with against a Mechaba, but an Elec that pretty much is Elec, brought up by the effect of bringing it from a second effect from the graveyard. So this card's really good. Also, if you Shaddoll Fusion, since you have with Construct, one of the light targets is Elec the Golden Lord. So you Shaddoll Fusion with Elec, do other Shaddoll plays. Okay, you go Construct with, let's say, like Squamata, do that cute little plays where you do like Wendy, set a trap card, flip up a beast, get some value, and then you just Golden Lord and get more value. So you're adding more to it, which I like about this. So, let's talk about Artifact Lancia, because that's one of the biggest changes in my deck. If you guys didn't know, in my last deck list, we had a playset of Drone Lockbird. So what I decided to do is, instead of playing Drone Lockbird, play Lancia. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Drone Lockbird a lot. But we always change the meta. And one of the most dominant decks we're starting to see come back now is Dinosaurs and Tri Brigade. Both of those decks pass to your Artifact Lancia. Don't get me wrong, I think Dro is better against Dragon Links. I think it is. In fact, I'm positive it is. But Lancia is still pretty decent against Dragon Links. They're not going to be able to do all their insane plays, including hitting you with that Levianeer. But against Tri Brigades, they pass when you Lancia them. Against Eldritch on the end phase, if you have a Lancia already activated, they're not going to be able to cycle those traps, meaning if we area on the following turn, we're going to hit them as well. Also, yes, it's also a light target as well. Then we have 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. For a while I was playing 2 because the card is not impactful, it's an even exchange. But what I kept noticing is the fact that if I played a mirror match, my opponent played Shaddoll Fusion and I didn't have this card, I went crazy neg. So you kind of need it for that matchup. Also, if you play against Tri Brigade, end phase they're going to activate some Morg. When you play against Tri Brigade, you have Ash. The play is never to Ash immediately. You wait until they go some Morg and then you Ash or some Morg. That's the play. A lot of people forget about that. They'll see like them do like Fractal and they're like, oh, Ash Fractal. Why? That does nothing. They're going to summon, and start going to the combo in front of your face now. You wait until against a Tri Brigades until they have some more, the link, and then you Ash that, and that's it. And then you follow up and break their board. We're still playing 3 Phantasmes. This card's 100%. Everyone's going to link combos. It's a must-have. And Alistair at 3, and the Invoke package is still the same. Nothing's really changed. So yeah, that's my Shaddoll Invoked deck list. Once again, I think it's the best deck of the meta because it's a deck that can equally fight everything. It doesn't have great matchups and it doesn't have bad matchups. It's a deck that can teach you how to play Yu-Gi-Oh. It's a deck that can also teach you on the mistakes you made after every game. If you are good enough of a player, this deck will tell you what you messed up on or tell you what you need in the deck. And I like that about Shaddoll Invoked. With like a deck like Dragon Link or any other kind of deck in the game, if you lose, it's because RNG. In Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not like that with this deck. This deck will teach you, and that's something that's very unique as a tier 1 deck. And I do think this is a tier 1 deck, and I definitely think this is one of the best decks in the meta. Another question that's always asking me is, why you don't play Dogmatica? I think Dogmatica is really good, but not in this meta. And the problem about Dogmatica is the minute you activate Punishment against this matchup or any other mirror matchup, you have to bank on your opponent not going into the extra deck. Because if they do, they get more value, and that is a problem for you. Now, also another issue is whenever you play against anyone that does like run like Draw and Lockbird, you basically lose that game. You lose the RNG match. And I just don't like that. I don't think that's really that good. I don't think you need to lose those random kind of games. You don't deserve to, and that's why I don't like Dogmatica in here. Without Dogmatica, this deck plays more consistently. It plays better, and you can be aggressive, and you can be defensive, and you can learn as you play against your opponent. Once again, things about this deck that no other deck in the game, especially at tier 1 level, can do. Anyway, Paisanos, this is your boy V. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the like button and comment down below. And make sure to check me out on Twitch. You guys have a nice day.